This is Jim.
And this is Mike, and you're listening to Greg on the Barbecue Central Show, the place for all things important to the world of barbecue.
When you're ready for even more guy stuff, check out the Mind of Men podcast for news and views on politics, tech, sports, tools, home repair, cigars, drinks, barbecue, and more.
You can find us on iTunes or at mindofmen.com.
From my heart and from my hand, why don't people understand my intention?
Happy to have you aboard here for the Really Big Barbecue Show.
We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to.
Fine, how's it going?
You have a great show. I'm a big fan.
So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead, and he's in the crackle.
Charbono! It's all about the Charbono, dude!
Succulent fish. What?
He ate 54 wieners.
But listen, Lavernius, shake a face.
I'm shaking like a dog shitting peach seeds.
You could use it to fight off creeping marauders looking to take your steaks off your grills.
I just like being anywhere with Junior, Senior, and Diva.
Sounds like a whole other type of movie.
Wow. Yeah, really. Keep it hot, keep it clean, keep it lubricated.
We have top men working on it right now. Top men.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the second hour. Barbecue Central Radio Show right here on the Barbecue Central Radio Networks. Thanks to Ted Reeder for joining me last hour. Also, congratulations to Mark from Georgia for winning the Luftleiter, the third of 4 giveaways here, so check that out. Next week is the last week for your chance to win a free Luftleiter. So look, if you've been looking to get one, you gotta listen to live to win. Mark knew it. Oh, for the love of Mike. Just relax. These damn intros and outros, they just need to relax a little bit. Mark knew that he had to listen live. He jumped in. He was able to stave off Tyler, who couldn't get, as I read it here correctly, turducken pig was the monstrosity that Ted Reeder was cooking, or that he has cooked a couple times, but was also looking to possibly cook again tomorrow. Turducken pig. Would you put a turkey, a duck, and a chicken inside of a pig? I don't know. Turducken scares me, to be quite honest. To have that many pieces of meat, whether you've deboned them or not, they're not the same, which means they're different, which means they're all different, and you're kind of putting them all together. And I don't know, man. It seems really weird to me. Just me. I don't know. Just me, doll. So that was Ted Reeder talking also about Jack Daniels and how that incorporates into a number of different things. I mean, really one of the best recurring guests that we have it ongoing. So, what can I tell you? All right, let's go ahead and get our next guest on the line, joining us from remote locations. He's on the West Coast, so it's like 7:07 over there right now, which is fine. And he is a new author. He is also in the Hollywood lifestyle, I guess it's safe to say, out there on the West Coast. I mean, certainly L.A. has nothing on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city of Cleveland, Ohio. But we'll race over to the hotline nonetheless. And to bring up new author, and he has authored the book, by the way, just so I am getting this correct. It is called The Barbecue Joe Chronicles. The Barbecue Joe Chronicles. Author of that book is Joe Sfesia, and he joins us right now. Joe, what's up, buddy? How are you tonight?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Greg?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic, Joe. Thanks for asking. Where were we finding you this fine eve?
Oh, I'm sorry. Say that again.
Where are we finding you this fine eve?
Oh, tonight I am actually down at my house down in the South Bay in Southern California. We were going to go up to the cabin, but we got a quite a bit of snow, and my cabin up in the mountains is just flooded with about 2 feet of snow, so we didn't have any access to get to it. So I'm just down at the beach house tonight.
Man, sounds like a terrible trade-off.
It's a nice little lifestyle down here at the beach. I really like it.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Joe. So we were kind of corresponding here over the last number of weeks. Barbecue Joe is kind of that barbecue handle that you're going off of. You have the catchphrase, marinate often, grill responsibly. And perhaps for the people that aren't as intimately familiar with who Barbecue Joe is, certainly my listening audience spans a wide range. We have the people that are hardcore, people that follow the competition scene. We have some people that might be in the middle of that like to do a lot of stuff in their own house and follow the competition scene. And, of course, we have the people that are just on the periphery, might be thinking to getting into barbecue or grilling a little bit more, want some encouragement or want some reference material, and that's obviously one of the reasons why I brought you on tonight. Who is Joe Sphasia? What are you all about, and how did you become interested in barbecue grilling in general?
Pretty much started when I was a kid. We, as a family, my great-grandpa had a meat shop. It was a market down in South St. Louis, where I grew up. They had pretty much everything from meat to all kinds of deli selections and everything that you could want in a butcher shop, and they had that there in South St. Louis, and it stayed around for about 40 years, and my grandpa took over the business from my great-grandfather, and pretty much I learned the art of butchering at a very young age, at about age 6, and from there it just kind of grew into, going fishing with my grandpa, and he showed me how to fillet fish, and then I just started going into Boy Scouts and doing a lot of stuff on, an open fire, kind of like we did in the Old West. And from there, it just started when I bought my first house back about 13 years ago. I acquired a inexpensive charcoal grill. Charbroil was the brand, and pretty much just was making barbecue. When that happened, I started going back to my roots, where I would go to the butcher shop and I would get a really decent piece of meat, and I would cut it up into steaks, nice, big, and thick. Sometimes when you get to the market, a lot of times they're kind of cut thin, and I like my steaks really big and thick, and I also like to have really fresh fish and really fresh chicken. So I kind of pick through everything, and I found a few markets here in Southern California where I can go and get those types of meats. So really the whole point of Barbecue Joe kind of came out of, my background is I'm an actor. I've been out here for 24 years doing different things, everything from commercials to television shows and film. And then I started really getting into my own thing. I developed a TV show called The Barbecue Joe Show. And myself and a good friend of mine that was on General Hospital with me, Tristan Rogers, he's kind of my sidekick in this show. We still haven't sold it to a network yet, but a couple years ago we put it together and did several episodes. So pretty much the whole mantra, the motto, marinate often and grill responsibly, has kind of something to do and everything to do with the whole idea of barbecue. So we want to take it to the average guy and get them, encourage them to get out there and grill something. So I try to keep it simple. And, another one of my catchphrases is FACT, fast, appetizing, convenient, tasty. So we want to bring you to the forefront of getting out there and getting yourself something really simple. So most of my marinade, I have 19 of my favorite in the book, my grilled favorites. They're all relatively simple, except probably the last one, which is a little more time intensive, and that is basically when you do a turkey on the grill, it becomes a little bit more intensive. So pretty much everything in the book is pretty simple to do. Within about an hour and a half, you can have a nice meal. These guys at the barbecue contest, and I've been a judge at the Jack back in 2006. I was out there with Guy Fieri. Him and I were judges, and that was a lot of fun. But these guys, when you look, the guy that won it the year I was there was Scott Johnson.
Scotty Johnson from CancerSucksChicago.com.
Yeah. I met him when I was out there. He did a great job. He had some good food. He did a great job on the grill. you got guys like him and the guy that won it this year, who I just heard you talking with a couple weeks ago on your show. The guy was Mike Wozniak.
Right.
These guys are intense. They spend a lot of time and effort with an entire team getting out there, and most people just aren't going to do that. So I take away, the intensity, and I just want to take the average guy and get him excited about it. So when I have people over, I had a couple guys in from Poland this last weekend, and a couple friends of mine, because I travel through Europe quite a bit, and these guys came over, and they've known me for about 10 years, and they have never been to Los Angeles and had a barbecue with me. So I brought them over to the house, picked them up at LAX, took them down to the beach, showed them the sand, and then came over to the house, and I did a full-on barbecue for these guys. And they said they died and went to heaven. Now, the whole point is that I showed them how to do it, and it was relatively simple. And they said, Joe, how did you do this so simple? They had their accent going and everything, and they were just wonderful, and they totally appreciated what I do. So the whole idea is I try to show people, keep it simple, get out there, and get yourself a grill. And the whole thing is the difference between barbecue and grilling is pretty much, you're using natural wood products. If you're barbecuing, you're using some kind of gas, propane, or LP, or natural gas if you're using, a grill. I use a grill. I have a built-in, and so I always use different types of woods. And I have a whole merchandising line that comes out next week based around different types of woods. Wood planks, wood chips, wood chunks, and grilling papers. And the whole idea is to kind of give it the flavor of what you get in a barbecue, but in about a third of the time. And that's why I actually came up with, using more and more woods. And almost every marinade and every grilled item you see in the book has an associated wood product with it that sits on the grill in something like a smoker box. If you don't have a smoker box in it, then that's one of the products that I actually sell, is a smoker box that contains the wood, contains the chips, and keeps them smoking, but keeps them from burning as well. And then it adds flavor to it that is, as you know, Greg, beyond what you can get without some type of wood product.
Joe Sfesia joining us here. His book, The Barbecue Joe Chronicles, out there in stores. bbqjoe.com is his website if you want to take a look at it. Also available Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com as well. And again, Joe was a celebrity judge out there in the Jack Daniels Open back in 2006 when Scotty Johnson, a friend of the show, won it. So he has some barbecue credentials behind him. Joe, my question is on your product line. A lot of people doing books right now. A lot of people doing cookbooks right now specifically. And it seems barbecue is hitting its stride. It seems that the grilling side is also hitting its stride. So people want to kind of get everything out there as much as possible to capitalize on what's hot now. And certainly barbecue and grilling is. You see it on television more and more, whether it be through the TLC barbecue shows or Food Network, whatever the case may be. With these grilling papers, what's the idea behind grilling papers?
So you take a piece of boneless, skinless meat, whether it's a piece of fish, a chicken breast, or a chicken thigh, all of them boneless and skinless. It's best to do it boneless and skinless. And you basically take the paper and you soak it in some type of wine or juice, anything that you can think of, even beer, depending on what the piece of meat is that you're going to put into it. And then you soak it for 15, 20 minutes. It's pretty thin. It's like thick paper. They slice it down so it's really thin, and then then you just wrap it once it's in. And you can add some spices to it, do whatever you want. You can even fold up the piece of meat into some vegetables or some cheese, and you can really kind of do a lot of different things with it. You can be very, very creative, and it's very, very simple to do. The idea again is make it boneless and skinless, and then just add, whatever kind of marinade you want to the fish, chicken, or meat, and then add some cheese or whatever you want to add to it. And then you basically wrap it up, and then you tie it with a green onion. And the green onion basically is just kind of a decorative piece, and you serve it on the plate with the green onion on it, and then the person at the plate can untie it. and then they pull it apart, and they're going to get some aroma of the smoke. Now, I've got about 6 different types of grilling papers I'm going to put out there. I got everything from pecan to hickory and oak, and there's a whole host of them, cherry, apricot, alder, and the same goes with the planks when you're plank grilling. But to stay specific to what you were asking, that's the whole idea behind the grilling papers, and it's phenomenal. It's fantastic. When my distributor, he said, hey Joe, you got to try these things, and I tried them, and it was just really kind of something that was different. But again, it keeps things really simple for the guy that's the novice in this thing called barbecue, which is just something that guys like you and I love.
Now, and just to clarify, go ahead and give us your definition again of what barbecue is and what grilling is, because obviously people out there are just kind of using these terms interchangeably, and obviously these are 2 distinct cooking methods. So go ahead and give us your take on what these 2 different cooking methods are.
Well, according to KCBS, Kansas City Barbecue Society, where I was trained, pretty much any natural wood product is a barbecue. So whether you're using charcoal briquettes or you're using some kind of wood, natural woods, which is what they require when you're at the Jack, right? Whether you're using that or some kind of wood product, that is considered a barbecue on an open flame that's using a natural wood product. When you're grilling, you're using some type of gas, whether it's LP, which is the same thing as propane, or natural gas. And there may be some stuff beyond that you can use, but I certainly wouldn't use it. For example, gasoline wouldn't be my choice. But, that's just me because, I want to keep people safe and I don't want to, get people sick. But that is my understanding of, the difference between the 2. And, pretty much I've looked it up, and that's kind of how I see it, and I think how KCBS sees it.
Now, when you're putting together a cookbook, Joe, and by the way, we're talking with Joe Sfesia, bbqjoe.com is his website if you want to check what he's about. Also, if you want to go ahead and grab a copy of that book, also available Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com. When you're putting together a cookbook, Joe, how are you coming up with the recipes, or whose recipes are you kind of gaining inspiration from to put them in print for the masses?
So pretty much, it's a lot of trial and error. Most guys, the whole idea is, and I want to kind of put out this phrase there, and it's in the book as well. In my backyard, I'm the chief grilling officer. And, Greg, when you're in your backyard, you're the chief grilling officer. So I'm a CGO, and you're a CGO, and every guy that I have trained or anybody that's my friend, I encourage them to come up with, use my book kind of as a compass. But I want you to come up with your own stuff that you think tastes great, because I want you, when you have your friends over, or when you have your wife and your kids over, and hopefully they're living with you. But when you're with these people, you want to show them that you know what you're doing, and you want to show them and have them taste something that's really, really good. Appearance it to me is important, and taste and tenderness. All of those things kind of go together, and that's kind of the key behind any kind of barbecue. And any kind of barbecue contest, those 3 elements. So if you can put all 3 of those together, then that's the key to a good barbecue. I have come up with probably 200 different marinades, probably 150 different types of grilled items. But on the simpler ones, because I do get intense on some of the stuff that's a little longer going, like if you do a bone-in ribeye, it gets a little more intense, or if you do something else that I have in here, which is a boneless leg of lamb, it gets a little more intense, but you can keep them simple as well. And that's the whole key, is to keep it simple. And that's pretty much what I have done. And I've come up with a lot of different things. And the 19 that I have are my 19 favorite. So chapter 3 is 19 of my favorite Barbecue Joe signature recipes. And every one of these recipes are based on characters in the book. So rather than just calling them Barbecue Joe, I actually took this book and I made 3 chapters. And guys are simple. We're simple, primal creatures. We like meat and we like women. And, we may like a few other things other than that, But, quite frankly, I see it, that's how I see guys. So I'm a guy, I'm a guy's guy. And so Chapter 3 is all about 19 of my favorite grilled recipes. And then Chapter 1 and 2 are kind of the key to the book. Because Chapter 1 is the 11,000-year history of barbecue, as spouted by me. So I came up with this story. My father used to tell me this story all the time about how my last name, Spasia, means home of Sweden. So he used to say it anytime he'd have a couple cocktails when we were together with the family, he'd start telling all these stories. So I came up with a story that talks about the Vikings coming down into Sicily in Italy and pretty much integrated with all the little Italian girls and left their seed and their name and went back to Sweden. And that's Chapter 1. And then Chapter 2 is modern-day man's love of the grill. We primal guys love the grill. We love to go out and, our choice of drink, whether it's a soda pop or a beer or a glass of wine, we like to go out and just kind of reduce our brain into a state of cognitive blankness. And this I describe in the book. ACCB, Analytical and Commonsensical Cognitive Blankness, is something that you'll learn about in the book. And it's all about just reducing the brain and doing a reboot. Because we work hard as guys. And when we get done at the end of the week, we got to have an hour or two alone. And sometimes we just can't get that because we got kids and wives and, all kinds of other interferences in our house. And so sometimes you got to just get to the backyard or the patio, and you got to throw a piece of meat on the grill, and you got to pop open a pop, and then just kind of hang 10. And that's where I actually go in Chapter 1 is the Cave Baby Hang 10 region of Sweden, and that's where I find the genealogical history of barbecue. It's an 11,000-year history, and it's not necessarily an accurate, true story. It's a fictitious read, but I had to give a story behind the name. There is some truth behind the name Spasia, but it's really, my creative Hollywood kind of genes coming out to make this creative story. That's what I did.
Is there a script or a screenplay out there floating around Hollywood about the 11,000-year barbecue trials as seen by Joe Spasia?
Well, I wrote the book, Greg, based on a film that I had wrote in the air, literally. I've always represented, instead of being one of these guys that works in a nightclub or in a as a bartender, I've always represented companies in high tech out of Silicon Valley. So I travel around quite a bit, and when I'm traveling in the air, sometimes if I'm going into Europe or if I'm going into the East Coast from the West Coast, I got 3 to 5 hours, sometimes 10 hours on a flight. So I just write, and I've written 6 scripts. One of those scripts is Barbecue Joe, and the script is a modern day kind of comedy, and it's got it's got a lot of heat under the fire, as they say, which we're hoping to go into production on this thing by early summer. But I put out the book to get mind share on the character Barbecue Joe in modern day times, which you kind of read about him in Chapter 2. And so yes, there is a script out there floating around Hollywood, and there's also a TV series that's floating around based on some of the stuff that Tristan and I have done together. Tristan actually plays a different character in the movie. Tristan plays my older brother, Larry, and he's almost 18 years older than I. So he plays my older brother, and he was in Vietnam, and there's a whole funny story to that. So there's a lot. There's like 4 different properties that are attached to the book and to the character Barbecue Joe at this point.
Now,
they all have the same.
Is this the show? I've been hearing rumors about a show being pitched around here and there about like a Clark Griswold character who decides to go ahead and cash in the 401k and all the pension plans to go ahead and hit the competition barbecue trail. This isn't you, though, right?
That is not me. I have heard about that as well, and it sounds like a great show. It sounds like a lot of fun. Mine is nothing like that, and unfortunately I can't really talk about it at this point. Maybe at a future time on your show, maybe we can have that conversation. But right now, the book is is out, and I can talk about that, and I can just kind of, feed you just a little bit of what's going on with the other properties at this point. The other thing, as I mentioned, is the merchandise comes out in a couple of weeks. It's going to go up on the website initially, and then I'm in conversations with some of the mid-sized markets that carry, the Ralphs of the world and the Fresh and Easies of the world. So all of those types of grocery markets are the people that are interested in this brand at this point. So we've got 42 products, and they're all going to be out there for people to purchase and try out. And pretty much the book kind of talks to all of those products, the wood products specifically, to enhance a grilling to give you that more barbecue-centric flavor.
Joe Sfesia joining us here on the show. bbqjoe.com is his website. The book available on Amazon.com, also on BarnesandNoble.com. By the way, that book is called The Barbecue Joe Chronicles. That debuted November 5th and now, of course, widely available through a number of other media outlets. Joe, before I let you go, wanted to get your take on a few different things here. First of all, how has the book been received? Is the publisher happy with how those initial numbers have been rolling in? Are you at above or below projection?
We're above projection, and things have been going very well. I've already had a few calls from people. Right now, it's a book that's in the online stores. Publisher is taking it from Barnes. Well, it's going up on Barnes and Noble, just for clarity, in about a week. They wanted to bring it in. They saw the heat under the fire, so they took it in. But it's just not live yet. For some reason, they haven't been able to get it live, but I talked to them this morning. It's supposed to be up in another week or so. It's at Amazon.com or my website, bbqjoe.com. You can buy it at either place. But you can also, starting next week, you should be able to buy it on about 1,500 other websites now. The publisher has decided to expand it, and they have expanded it into Africa and Europe, and it's now in Australia and in some parts of Asia. So it has definitely got wide distribution online, and it'll get wider and wider as we do the book signings and some of the marketing campaigns that are starting up in another couple of weeks. So it's with the holiday season and everything, a lot of people buy them as gifts for people. It's it's an inexpensive stocking stuffer for you to give somebody that's a novice and somebody that loves barbecue. Whether you're a novice or somebody that's really into it, my idea again is to give somebody some entertainment value at the beginning of the book. And chapter 1 and 2, that's what they are, entertainment value. And then chapter 3 is 19 of my favorite recipes. And, you can kind of like mix and match with everything there. I've got a thing in the back on Primal Sides, which is, we want to talk to our herbivore friends too, right? The herbivores are the vegans and the vegetarians. And my wife's got a lot of friends that are vegans and vegetarians. And so when they come over, my son's girlfriend last year was a vegan. So I started cooking her veggie burgers.
The worst.
I'm sorry?
I said that's the worst. How can you have people coming over to your house that are vegans? We should hit those people.
Well, it's just like, any kind of religion. You're not going to probably convince somebody to be a different religion. I'm a happy Catholic. I'm probably not going to be a Muslim anytime soon.
There you go.
And vice versa.
Agreed.
So anyway, there you have it. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. There was something else I was going to mention to you, and I can't remember what it was. So do you have any other questions for me?
One other question, and I always like to ask people that I'm having on, whether it be cookbook authors or pit masters or whatever the case may be. So since it's the first time on your show, or on my show, wanted to ask you, there's a large debate going about here in the TV world. You have a number of big-time chefs that have gone into all these culinary schools, and now they're on television, go ahead and spreading what they feel is correct information. A lot of the times I can't really pick nits with what they're saying because I don't have anywhere near the credentials that they're having. But the one thing that I wanted to ask you about is this whole thing on searing steak or searing a piece of meat that is sealing in the juices. Joe, do you think really, between us guys, do you think that searing really seals in anything? Be honest. Don't lie like I know you want to.
The way I see it is a little different than some of these guys that have quite a bit more credentials than I. Searing is a great concept, okay? But I go back to rock salt and sea salt, and if I want to sear something, I stick my grill up to about 1,500 degrees, 800 to 1,200 degrees, depending on the piece of meat. In all reality, I throw rock salt around it. If I want to sear something, I'm going to sear it with rock salt around it, not to burn it, and to keep those juices in. So, you know what? Searing is one thing. If you got the only thing that I sear, quite frankly, because I give everything to everybody that comes up to me. When they want their steak, for example, it's rare, medium, or done. And the same thing with a piece of lamb. It's got to be rare on a piece of lamb in the middle, otherwise it's going to be tough. But it's rock salt or some kind of sea salt that you put on the outside that's going to help sear it. Ahi tuna is the only thing that you really need to worry about searing. I travel and I go to a lot of beautiful restaurants all over the world. And every time I go in to a place that, sears tuna, usually on some coastal region somewhere in the world, that's the only thing that really it matters with. There's a lot of techniques to searing, but the biggest problem is when people start steaming stuff. So if you have things that have too much wet in them, that will steam things from the inside out, especially chicken and fish things that are very porous and that can burn very easily from the inside out. And so I'm really careful about that. But the whole thing with searing is, you just heat the grill up, you throw the piece of meat on, and you go for it. And, you flip it every 4 minutes. That's my recommendation. Just flip it every 4 minutes. Some guys like to just flip it once. I got a lot of grill chefs saying, hey, I flip it once and it's done. You know what? I flip it every 4 minutes or so, and I seem to get a really good result that way. Again, everything's personal preference. This is what I have developed over the last 15 years, and I recommend anybody that's out there to do what works best for them. And then you can tell your buddies and puff out your chest and say, this is how I did it, and it tastes great. And as long as the people that are eating it are saying, this is awesome, it's the best thing I've ever eaten, then you've done your job. Once you've done your job, the hell with it. Once you've done your best, the hell with it. That's what Joseph Kennedy used to always say. He had a sign on his desk.
That's right.
That's kind of what I live by.
You got to trust your palate. What's good, what tastes good to you, it doesn't matter how it got there. You always got to trust your palate, or as I like to say on the show via Gary Vaynerchuk, you got to trust your pal. And we're talking with Joe Sfesia. And again, he has authored the Barbecue Joe Chronicles, and you can find that bbqjoe.com. You can also find it on amazon.com. And, of course, hopefully next week, Barnes & Noble will be bringing it on board as well. Joe, appreciate you coming on tonight, sharing how the book got started and what the intricacies of the book are involved with. And hopefully we can push some people over there and grab it up for you. And again, as you said, it sounds like a great stocking stuffer. So appreciate you making time for the show tonight. Thanks for coming on.
You're very welcome, and happy Thanksgiving, and your book's on the way. You'll have it in another couple days. Thank you very much.
All right, Joe, I appreciate it. There he is.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
He's Joe Sfesia, ladies and gentlemen. All right, my book's on the way, so don't be too jealous. That's right. I hope it's autographed with an 8x10 glossy. Joe, don't forget, hook me up with the 8x10 glossy. I've always wanted to have an 8x10 glossy of a male hanging in the Barbecue Central Radio Network studios.
Get that big stuff out of here.
Joe Sfesia joining us. And again, if you're interested, look, I mean, I like barbecue cookbooks just like the next buy. Cookbooks in general, we're inherently a crew of people that like cookbooks. So go ahead and seriously give Joe's book a try. Admittedly, technically speaking, I don't know. Maybe he missed the definition of barbecue and grilling, at least in my eyes. Maybe he missed the definition of barbecue and grilling. And this spawns many different conversations that we could possibly have. He went back on the crutch that, well, KCBS told us that this is what barbecue is and this is what grilling is. Well, of course, it doesn't take a genius to not figure out that Joe probably was one of those people that was indoctrinated into the KCBS I'm a certified judge the night before the Jack Daniels competition took place. What do you hear from all of the teams that go down to the Jack Daniels most of the time? Or what are they preparing for? Well, it's the fact that they don't have qualified, experienced judging palates back there in the barbecue tent that they're turning their products into. These people are out there busting their ass weekend in and weekend out, working under KCBS guidelines, figuring that because they're competing in this sanctioning body or that sanctioning body's contest, they're going to get some type of credible and reliable result week after week, and then they get picked. And not to sound weird, but their bung gets picked so that now they can go down to the Jack Daniels competition and turn their barbecue in that they've been winning. They won barbecue competitions to get into this barbecue competition that they're now going to turn into people that just got certified the night before. The majority of them. All of them? No, not all of them. But the majority of them. So, I mean, what? It's the never-ending battle of the experienced barbecue cook and the guy that is going to be able to eat really good food and has no friggin' idea what he's talking about. I mean, that's really the bottom line, right? I mean, what are you going to do? The difference between barbecue and grilling isn't liquid propane, which isn't the same as propane. It is LP is just propane, or natural gas that you could hook up from your house, which burns less hot than propane, or wood. It really has nothing to do with it. You could technically barbecue Southern Pride, Old Hickory. Is it Old Hickory, O-L-E? Old Hickory, they make liquid propane-fired barbecues. They're in, 80%, 85% of barbecue restaurants that are out there these days. Those are propane-fired machines cooking all night, low barbecue temperatures, because you don't want to have people out there shucking logs into the fire pits and paying somebody to stay overnight. Who the hell wants to stay overnight? Forget about it. Get a Fast Eddie cooker, cook with pellets, and be done with it, for crying out loud. Or man the F up and feed logs like a man. You can act like a man. And no, as much as I wanted to, I'm not going to sit there and take Joe to task and tell him where he's wrong, because that's not very professional of me. It's much easier to correct him when he's not on the air. And it makes for much more exciting radio as far as I'm concerned, because believe me, I hate confrontation. Confrontation really, really scares me, and I don't like anything to do with it.
Get that big stuff out of here.
All right. So that was Joe Sfeja. Again, his website, bbqjoe.com, amazon.com. You can also find the Barbecue Joe Chronicles, where he gives you his ideas of how the 11,000-year barbecue tale of Italian women getting it on with Poland guys. Right? Love it. Gotta love it. We can clear out the prize closet right now. So if you're listening to the show and you want to have some prizes, just go ahead and jump into the jump. Perhaps we can also say jump into the show. 877-448-0433. We have frog mats. We have El Capitan Santa Maria-style barbecue seasoning. We have Cosmos Q's injection packs or soaks. We also have wild game rub from Easy Hooks. So if you haven't ever had a chance to get in on the show tonight and you want to have some type of prize headed out your way on Friday, or at least early in the week, next week, you can go ahead and give me a call and pick your prize, and I'll be more than happy. You don't have to answer any trivia questions. It's not the $758,000 Luftleiter that Mark won from Georgia during the first hour. All you need to do is just go ahead and call in 877-448-0433, 877-448-0433. Let me go ahead and quickly check the emails here and see if we have anything going on. Nothing going on here on the email side of things. All right. We'll wait around here a couple minutes. Next week, we have another great show. And that'll be the last show that I will be at here in Cleveland, and I'll try to attempt to do 2 remote shows the week of December 6th and the week of December 13th. And then I'll be back in the Barbecue Central Radio Network studio compound the week of the 20th and 27th. So look for that. Lots of great guests lined up, a lot of recurring guests, and also we'll be able to really lock down on what's happening in the world of competition barbecue as well. Team of the Year rapidly wrapping? I don't know. To me, that sounds redundant. It might just be me because I'm a professional speaker. I don't know. All right. That's it for me. We're going to wrap it up right now. Thanks to Joe Svasia for joining me here this past hour. BBQJoe.com is his website, the Barbecue Joe Chronicles. I'm getting my copy. Rod, would you do you have anything to Rod Gray from Pellet Envy? Do you have anything to add that I'm getting a copy and you're not?
Nothing.
Fine, don't add anything. What are you having any side dishes tomorrow?
Nothing.
Nothing. All right. Fine. Forget it. Rod, do you have anything positive to add to this conversation tonight?
Nothing.
Fine. I'm done with you. I'm done with you. Again, thanks to Joe Svasia for joining me talking about BBQ Joe Chronicles. Also, thanks to Ted Reeder for killing it during the first hour talking about the turducken pig. The turkey stuffed in a duck, stuffed in a chicken, stuffed in a pig, barbecue cranberry sauce, stuffed ribs. What? Stuffed ribs? Jack Daniels fitting nicely into all of that. And until I see you back here again next Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, this is your program host and proud U.S. American, Greg Rempe. Good night now.